Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for coming out tonight. It's going to be a good weekend. Yeah, we got some rowdy ones in the crowd. It's good. Give yourselves a round of applause for showing up. I would also like to thank our sponsors, specifically the Brownstone Institute and all of our other sponsors for helping make this beautiful event happen. Give people another couple of seconds to trickle in. We do have our first speaker in a moment. You've probably heard of her. She's an author, an activist, an attorney. She's worked as a lawyer in South Africa and in California. She won the landmark First Circuit court case affirming your First Amendment right to film the police. Yep. She's been involved in a lot of pro-freedom activism and worked with the ACLU, New Hampshire, First Amendment activists. She has led many protests, rallies, celebrations in support of individual rights. She has a book, The Ecstatic Pessimist, which is, according to the editor-at-large of Reason Magazine, highly recommended. I have not personally read it, but I do have a signed copy, and I will. I'm ashamed to admit that, but I would say get the book. Get the book. Carla has successfully hosted the 17th annual Porcupine Freedom Festival in the year when nothing else happened, 2020. So she had like the only event in the world during 2020, defying the lockdowns. She was an outspoken critic of the government's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. She's irritated the likes of Scott Adams. She is run as a Republican for Senate and for House of Representatives. She served on the board of several nonprofits, including the Free State Project, which is the reason we're all here today. She's an advocate for the ancestral lifestyle. She practices yoga, shooting, plays Scrabble, surfing. Yep, I know it's on her bucket list. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a huge round of applause and a warm welcome to the Queen Quill, first of her name, demander and defender of truth, and mother of porcupines, and my dear friend, Carla Gericke.
Hi, guys. Thank you so much, Bill. That was wonderful. So we're doing something new today. I made slides, which for anyone who knows me and knows what kind of speaker I am, this is going to be like a whole new kind of crazy, because I made them late last night, and there were 100 of them. And a lot of them are just pictures, so don't panic. But the thinking was, they were like, do you need a lapel mic? And I was like, no, I don't. The thinking is a little bit that this is a bad art project, which is just basically my way of embracing my artist side. You know, I like to think about labels and who I am and where I'm heading to and how I can evolve and grow. And, you know, as an attorney and a young person, I was kind of told to really suppress, I think, my creative side. And the older I've gotten, the more I've wanted to embrace that side. So for the past couple of years, I've been doing a lot of little weird art projects, and some of those are going to be shared with you tonight. Everything you see here will be photos I took in New Hampshire, our beautiful, great state of New Hampshire. So that was actually coming back from PorcFest last year. So also, the point of this is just to sort of give people a sense of what your life could be as a free stater in New Hampshire. I've been here for 15 years. I've been doing this a long time. So this is sort of my slower, fullest practical effort. And if you get a sense that I'm throwing down a little, I am. So not only do you have to move here, but you have to help us build a free state. All right, so this is going to be in linear order, and it runs from January through to December. And so in January last year, I had the deep honor of attending Hereticon. What was Hereticon? It was a invitation-only event that Peter Thiel put together. I got to meet Peter across the room while thinking about ESP. He did not pick up on my vibes. What did I find interesting about Hereticon? It was very woo. Like, very woo. In fact, I wasn't even sure if it was like a CIA psyops with 200 of us and they were doing some kind of tests on us. But it was really interesting. I met a lot of really interesting people, and I got to move shit with my brain. So one of the experiments that happened at Hereticon was there was a sign on a door leading down a passageway, and it had like, move stuff with your brain or something. It had some weird label, and I was intrigued, and I walked down the corridor. So I got to this experiment room where they did not strap anything to my brain. They simply told me to imagine either that I'm sending something up or down. Now, being the kind of skeptic that I am, I was like, well, if you're not putting things on my brain, I'm definitely closing my eyes. Because I thought, well, maybe they have a camera and it's following your pupils. No, he's like, no. So I just closed my eyes and I meditated. I didn't tell him if I was going up or down. I just thought about going up. As you can see on the red line going up, right around where it dips or where it goes up, 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 I felt like I was lagging in attention, and I started thinking about a rocket, and it went all the way up. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And then they showed me the results, and I was like, I have no idea what's happening here, but I'm going to take a photo so I could tell my friends later. Then the guy goes, whoa, we've never seen results like this. Would you like to do another one? And I'm like, sure, why not? At least I could prove I have a brain now. So on the second one, so on the first one, you'll notice I did not know where the start point was, right? Whatever I was thinking, whatever they were measuring. And then on the bottom one, I actually knew exactly what it looked like. So see how solidly it starts on that green line, which is very odd to me. So on the blue one, I was thinking down, down, down. And then I felt my attention lagging. And then I thought of a submarine diving further. And then it went down, down, down. Again, I don't know what this means, but if it is the CIA, I hope they know what it means. They let me know one day. All right, what was also interesting about Hereticon is it was a very, very, very boozy conference. And that genuinely was the first time it was ever hard for me as someone who's quit drinking because, you know, it was all inclusive, really nice hotel, 24/7. And it was hard. But then, you know, I was like, well, you know, just lean into it, do something different, meet people in a different way. And I did, and it was fine. So as you see there, what is this feeling? I don't like it. Sober, that's 9 years ago. Now I do like it. I just want to remind everyone while I think of it, I have a website, carlagericke.com, The Art of Independence, where I actually blog every day. So, you know, I would love it if more people would read it. Okay, one of the themes I do want to discuss today is a little bit of our role with the media. Who here has seen that new NBC Boston episodes? All right. So what do you guys think? Pretty favorable? Yes. Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's pretty fair. I feel like it's balanced. I think it represents the wide notions of what freedom is. And so one of the things I want us to think about is we're on a diplomatic mission. And so we should behave that way. The reason I put this one up is because, you know, I was throwing down on NPR, and then, you know, I got called some names, and then I was like just very snarky in return. But, you know, that is a way that you can deal with people. So basically I said something about flu season. Some guy called me a COVID idiot. Then they told me to tighten the lug nuts on my tinfoil hat. I would like to very categorically let everyone know I don't have a tinfoil hat. I have a tinfoil crown. And so I said, well-addressed gentlemen, I'm devastated by your brilliantly intelligent takedowns. So, call it out or let it go. Call it out. So, secession. That's one of the topics, hot topic. It's coming up. They covered it in the NBC thing. It is going to be a conversation we are going to have more and more. National divorce is constantly trending on Twitter. It is a discussion that's time has come. And so I went to testify in favor of CACR 32. The important thing, and this is something that we have to tell people, is it was not a vote to secede. What it was a constitutional amendment to be put to the people of New Hampshire to vote on whether they want to secede. So I would say categorically that every single state rep that voted against this is anti-democratic because they are standing in the way of the voters. And here's the reality. They're afraid of what the voters might say. There's going to be a great secession panel talk, so I won't get into the details here, but this was something that I did support. All right, and then the Libertarian Party put out the video. I highly recommend. If you haven't watched all the testimony, it's a good watch. All right, now we're into February. Who recognizes this event? All right, prom, Pork Day. That, of course, is the day that we celebrate our triggering of the move. That's February 3rd, 2016. So we always get together and have a good time. I included this both to show you guys that my Instagram is lit and on fire, and everyone should be following it because it's the only place I can still post memes without getting banned for weeks on end. I get a lot of warnings. But I can still post. But I wanted to include this because also on Porcupine Day at the middle top there, I got a birthday cupcake because last year was my 50th birthday. So thank you for that. All right, this was just some random. Do you guys notice something in this photo? It's all women. Who says there are no women in the liberty movement? I find that so offensive. I've actually had interviews with people from like the New York Times where the guy will say to me, you're a movement of white men. And I'm like, do you know how offensive it is that you're talking to an African-American immigrant female woman, or whatever we're calling ourselves these days? And, that's a little offensive. You can't just say it's this if you're literally talking to someone who is not that. This is a wonderful, wonderful new tradition. This is from last year's hockey game. We just did the hockey game again. Thank you to Mari, I think I saw her somewhere, for putting this together. It makes us seem like normal people, which we are. At least those two are. So this is a game where it's the NHGOP, so the Republican Party and the Libertarian Party do an ice hockey game. It's a fun Saturday afternoon. We just played last weekend, and it's just great. All right. So sadly, PJ ORourke passed away last year. So PJ is actually someone that I started reading in South Africa, like back in my college days in the 80s. And I was a really, really big fan. And I was kind of miffed at him. Well, I'm trying to keep the language good. Because honestly, for the past 15 years that I've lived in New Hampshire, I've tried to cultivate him to embrace our movement. He is probably the most famous, most prolific, and funniest libertarian writer. No offense to Jeffrey. You're my second favorite, Jeff. And I really wanted him to cover the Free State Project, and he never did. I met him a couple of times. He signed one book for me. And last February, the 14th, because this is the 15th of February, last February, on the 14th of February, I woke up and I was just pissed. And I had a voice in my head. And that voice said to me, you should write to PJ ORourke and tell him what you think about this little situation that we have going on. Because I had, we'd emailed over the years, and I'd sent him a copy of my book, and I'd asked him to blurb it. And I know a lot of people haven't read the book, but genuinely, like from a literature, you're a writer's perspective, it's really good. And I really wanted him to read it. And I really wanted someone that I admire to be like, good girl, right? So I woke up on the 14th of February, and I think I might have killed PJ ORourke. I sent him this email that starts with, plain rude. Just wanted to drop you a note and let you know, as a fellow writer and libertarian, and as 2 transplants to the free state of New Hampshire, I'm surprised by your rudeness. I've now spent more than a decade trying to cultivate a relationship with you because you were someone I admired. So we go on. So I just said, by your lack of basic common decency or manners, like failing to respond to my past emails or simply acknowledging receipt of my book and ignoring my countless invitations to speak at our events, has been frustrating me for a while, so there you have it. So I sent him that, and then I woke up the next day, and he was dead. I'm going to carry that for the rest of my life. I don't know if I killed PJ ORourke. I genuinely hope I didn't. I went back, I changed the subject line, I made it condolences, and I hope his wife never saw it. Now we're in March. All right, so everyone recognizes this lovely crew. This was at last year's Liberty Forum, and of course that's Constance from Independence Realty. In the middle is Rachel with one of the kids. So, all right. The other thing I want to focus on a little bit in this talk is what we can do when the media says mean things about us. So first of all, this is actually kind of an awesome article that came out. It was in the Lacone Daily Sun. I love that artwork. Do you guys see it's an elephant and then there's like a porcupine and they're riding on their bike off into the sunset. So I really enjoyed that one. This was up in Vermont at the Vermont Libertarian meetup where I did the keynote last year. And then, that was at Independence Inn. So does everyone know about Independence Inn? Yeah. All right, for the one person who possibly doesn't know, it's this amazing new inn that opened up. I think they've covered that painting, but I really wanted the painting to become an Insta moment because it was like the oddest piece of artwork I'd ever seen with the weird fairy and everything. But I think that ship has now sailed. So it's in Stratford, New Hampshire. I was going to say Bow, but yeah. All right, Stratford, New Hampshire. This was at, so one of my themes is also I want to really think about how we can lift our friends. We're a movement, so I always constantly am trying to find those opportunities where you can just go do something for someone else for an hour if you have it. So I happened to have an hour one day, and I knew Kate Baker, who does all the school choice work, had a hearing, and I was like, I don't even know what the bill is about, but I'm willing to go hold a sign. So I did. The middle photo, by the way, those are New Hampshire's colors. If we made a flag that had those colors, I know it would be too pink, but it would be amazing. Maybe a t-shirt. And that's a mushroom. There are going to be a lot of mushroom photos. I don't know, just roll with it. So, another thing you can find on my website is a lot of actual old New Hampshire Free State Project history. So there are a lot of things that have happened over the years. I've been involved in some really weird stories, but this is one of my favorite ones. I'm not going to go into super much of the details, but basically when where it began, where it began for me too, where I was arrested. One time, we went to protest because they had taken my camera, and it was a year later and I still hadn't gotten it back. And we did this protest outside the police station. They actually locked down the police station early because they just did not want to deal with us. We did a little barbecue. Someone brought pineapple to someone made a fire. It was a very strange, it was more a rally, I guess, than a protest. And anyway, so we were there for about an hour, and then this truck pulled in. And a guy jumped out with like a stack of pizzas. And the police had sent us pizzas. So I love that story because to me that feels very uniquely New Hampshire in the sense that, you know, as long we still live in a state, we are fortunate to live in a state where you know who your state reps are, you can call them, you do actually know who your cops are, and that gives us influence and power, because when someone knows someone's name and someone can look someone in the eye, that is a meaningful thing, because that actually means that we can deal with each other as humans. All right, this is just a funny one. Doug Stanhope, if you're watching this, please come to PorkFest. I have done some crazy projects with Doug over the years. One of them was we sent him a plane ticket, a golden plane ticket, a fifth of vodka, a whole bunch of silver, glitter bombs. I don't know. There was a lot in it because I really wanted him to come. And he did respond, and then I lost his phone number. I'm holding out hope that the quote on his book, because he was looking for, I will use at least one cool random fan quote. So I tweeted, this is one cool random fan quote. So I'm hoping that's on the book. And this is just, you know, to remind you guys, lots of content, and some of it's on Odyssey as well. All right, so as many of you know, I work on a lot of police accountability work. If that's a subject you're interested in, please do come see me. I have been dropping the ball there. There is a lot of stuff going on. I know for a fact in Manchester, there's a lot of new tech coming in. There's ATVs, a lot of new toys. And so we do need people to be putting their eyes on this issue a little more. So, you know, people like to say create through or criticize through creation. So I changed that to create to berate. So I didn't have any photos from May, and I was like, why? What happened in May? And then I remember we killed our dog, and that made me very sad, and so we took a month off. But now we have a new puppy, Obi. And then on the far side over there, that is me signing up to run for office. So... just for people who might not get the joke beyond the obvious one, my Senate district got gerrymandered out. So I won Goffstown in my Senate race last time. For people who don't know me, in 2016, I got 35%, 36%, and I went up to 46%, and I won the town I needed to win, which meant in 2022, I would have been able to win, but then that whole district got gerrymandered out. Then Carla got a little annoyed at the lady who did that. So we ran Michael Yakubinovich. He won. He unfortunately is very ill at the moment. And so another Free Stater candidate who owns Murphy's Tap Room, is now the senator. So now we finally, for the first time, have a Free Stater senator in the Senate. And genuinely, what's exciting about that is in the same way that we saw having this group of people who have principles, who can work with both sides, we can actually get the right things done. It's good that we ended the death penalty. The government should not be killing people because they can't do anything right. So, so you can work together to actually make some changes that are to the benefit of humanity and not to the benefit of parties. PorkFest, Team Awesome. Who's going to be volunteering to stack the truck this year? If you live in Manchester, I know you will. But this is what human action looks like, guys. This is just a group of people who showed up to put together the truck so we could drive it up to PorkFest to have a good time. Win-win. This is my favorite PorkFest photo because for the people who know Rebecca, Robin, and her partner at the front here, I love he doesn't like photos. So I love that this is just a up into the crowd photo without anyone in the front here. This is my favorite flyer from PorkFest. I will just leave it like that. All right, now we're in 4th of July. So you may or may not know this, but, oh, geez, all right. But I coined the phrase, make America states again, right around the time Trump started with these Make America Great Again stuff. So I think he was there first. But the thinking is, and this is from our friends at the 10th Amendment Center, just a shout out to a great quote. And they are great partners. If you're not following the 10th Amendment Center, please do. They have good arguments. They have, I hope Michael Bolden and all the folks there will come back from PorcFest next year. All right, and then this is my semi-humble brag. Walter Block said my essay for the new Libertarian Autobiographies book blew him away. So that's supposed to be coming out in the next few weeks, I think. And I was very pleased to be invited to participate in it. I also wanted to make a point. I don't know if anyone's having a feeling here where triggered's not the right word because we don't really like that word. But I don't know if you guys ever have that experience where someone's telling you stuff and you're like, oh, either it primes something or it makes you mad or you get some kind of feeling. I want to actually remind you that sometimes when you get that feeling, that might actually be something you want to look at. It might be something that you want in your life. It might be like a little clue. I didn't realize this, but I was listening to some YouTube and the guy said it and I was like, oh, huh. Instead of pushing that feeling away, I should listen to that feeling because it might actually guide me to be a smarter, better person. So I see everyone's nodding, so I know you guys are all way more developed than I am. I'm kind of catching up on being an adult. But so if you get those feelings, take note of them because that might actually be giving you the roadmap of where you need to head. Sometimes we don't know what we want to be doing, and then we can get the clues from that. All right, then I went to Freedom Fest, which I love. Great conference. Definitely go visit. They're going to be in Memphis this year. But, Vegas is also a different experience if you're not drinking anymore. And it's kind of, so I'm excited to go to Memphis. I haven't been there before. But this struck me. I actually went to some art exhibits and got off the strip and that kind of stuff. And this one touched me. This one made me kind of sad. I like the pug, the spaceship and the needle. So for folks who maybe heard me on Tom Woods, I did an episode with Tom at the start of the year. He had read an essay I wrote about quitting drinking and sort of, it was a vulnerable essay. It was kind of very open and it was, hey, here's my dirty laundry. So now that I said it, you can't put it in the newspaper and make me feel bad. But I talked about this quote, which really did have a fundamental change in my life. And I think we really need to just maybe linger here for a second. So the quote is a Lao Tzu quote, and it says, if you're depressed, you're living in the past. If you're anxious, you're living in the future. And if you're at peace, you're living in the present. And so what we're talking about is the now, right? The more conscious you are in the now, in the actual present, it's likely that you're going to be happier because you're actually here, which is part of the reason I put up my photos of nature and of mushrooms and of stuff. We know forest bathing's good for us. We know all these things that are good for us. Now we just have to remind ourselves to do it. So one of the things I've noticed in the community, and I don't know if it's unique to us or if this is just a thing humans do, but a lot of people seem to have this, I'm going to be a nice person, or I'm going to be more decent, or I'm going to be this better future version of me, but it's not the now me. And I find it so curious, I watch people and they sort of seem to have this sense of, when we have this perfect system one day that we've built, then it's all going to be grand, right? Like the word we use is utopian or nirvana or, all of that. But I really want us to be mindful of the fact that you only have one life and you're living it now. So like if you're like, oh, I'm going to be less rude to the Democrats one day, it's like, well, then start doing it now or be more rude, but whatever lane you're picking, pick it. This slide is by far the most liberating thought I've ever had. For folks who can't see it, it is the balancing of these two ideas. Nobody cares, sad face. Nobody cares, happy face. So here's the reality. A lot of times you're doing stuff, and if you're shadow banned like me, it's frustrating. I have a lot of stuff to say, and I literally have had no engagement for 3 years. I mean, it's just, there was one day I was unshadow banned. I'll show you the stats in a second. So, there's this constant cycle where you're just like, oh, nobody cares. Nobody cares about what I got to say. Nobody cares. And then I was like, maybe I'll just turn it into a positive. I'm just going to let my freak flag fly because nobody cares. And so I have fully embraced that. I will tell you the only thing maybe that Trump did for me that was good was I was like, look, if that guy can get away with that shit, then we can all pretty much do what we want. This is one of my favorite photos. This is a wonderful little excursion we did in July. This is at the Porcupine Outdoor Recreation Club. And Chris Lopez, who's our moving director, she is probably, if you've moved in the past 10 years, at some stage you've talked to Chris. And she had this opportunity to go throw the opening pitch at the ballpark. And so we did this big thing. We did a tailgate. There were probably like 50 people. And then I was her sidekick to go help. And we were allowed to go under the stadium and all these secret places. I might have seen a nude bowl guy. It was, not the worst of things. And then and then obviously we had, sat and watched the game. In case you don't know, I am a fabulous home cook. And I made these little wonky cooking shows a couple of years ago called Freedom Nom Nom. And they are on my YouTube channel, Carla Gericke TV, where I have 362 subscribers. So I don't know, guys, help me out a little. Come on. Or actually better go to Odyssey. But please subscribe to something. I have recipes, and really what I'm trying to encourage is a healthier lifestyle. Let's get away from the seed oils. Let's get away from, the carbs, and let's actually reclaim our health because that's how we're going to win. This, pinky up, a little tea party over in the western side of the state. This is a very Republican event. It's just for the ladies. Actually, that's not true. There are gentlemen, but it feels very like that picture. This was just a fun outing. This was at Lauren Noon's barn. The reason I'm bringing these people up is these are all movers who have come, who have said to themselves, I have this massive opportunity now that I'm going to a place where I am picking my future, right? So there's this amazing thing that happens when you move to New Hampshire because you have made a conscious choice. This is a mindful decision, and you are coming here. So then you can start to focus on, what do I love? What can I give back to the community? What is something I just want to do on Sundays? Maybe you want to do goat yoga, I don't know, or whatever. But what Lauren did is she has this beautiful barn, and she said, oh, I'm going to do this agorist dinner. It was X amount, $40 or whatever, per plate. And a bunch of us just said, hey, why don't we all drive and we'll just meet up there and we'll go have this delicious, delicious dinner because this person wanted to do that. All right, that's just a little mind tickle. You guys can think about that. How do we balance thoughtlessness, meaning your mind is empty, with mindfulness? All right, this is a weird little amalgamation of my little art project, so I'm just going to go through these, but I feel like there was something I was going to talk about while we did that. Who's familiar with the 4 agreements? Do you guys know that? So I feel like that's something we should really be talking about a little more. These are just going to be like, I don't know, my Andy Warhol pictures. These are on my Instas. So with the 4 agreements, they basically say, I'm just going to go through these so that we're all awkwardly done with it. All right. So the 4 agreements are: be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions, and always do your best. And I feel like if we incorporate that, that just seems like good life philosophy anyway. But I really do like those as sort of like a core tenet or something that we should all be striving towards. And then, of course, as I mentioned, lifting your friends. I'm going to lift my favorite friend, my husband, Louis. I love that photo and I love that T-shirt. So it's not you, it's me. That's one of our favorite little secession T-shirts. I'd like to lift my friend Jody Underwood, who has gone through hell and back. Miss Croydon. Woo! She wrote this excellent op-ed. Give what Free Staters advocate a chance. You might be surprised. We know that's the truth. We know the truth is going to come out. It's so interesting to me, even with the Croydon school budget debate, right? And so this is a small town of New Hampshire where they tried to cut, actually they did cut the school budget by more than 50%. And then other townsfolk got really upset. And so they sort of counter-organized, and there was a second vote, and then it got reversed. This is how things should work. The only reason it got in the news was because the 50% seemed like a bananas number, and it got people's attention. Here's the part you don't hear that much about. The 50% school cut would have meant that the kids were still getting $10,000 per student, which was still $1,000 more than the Montessori private school that is in the town right next door. So if someone can explain to me why we are paying double for half the outcomes, I would like to have that conversation. So remember this. So this is a really cool photo. By the way, that dress is made out of Legos. You won't believe it, but I saw it in person at an exhibition in Boston. And I want to remind you, honestly, it sounds trite and it sounds stupid almost, but honestly, showing up is half the battle. Like genuinely. And what we have here in New Hampshire, in the movement, in the Free State, is we have people power. And that is actually a mighty, mighty thing. And we should be utilizing it strategically, and we should be showing up. All right, you know where we showed up? Parkside. Who heard about this little saga? All right, so for the folks who don't know, the mayor of Manchester, Mayor Craig, and her crony donors accidentally made a backroom deal that they probably would have gotten away with if it hadn't literally been my backyard. So my house abuts, and actually the porcupine who lives next door to me, his house, he actually officially abuts. We sort of share one post. But we abut on a park. For the past 3 years, volunteers have been building out this park. We put in raised beds. We've been renting out the beds. People were doing gardening. People were coming from the east side to garden in the west side. The park had been there for 100 years. There is never in the history of probably New Hampshire, but that might be an exaggeration, but certainly the city of Manchester has a Democrat ripped out a community garden to build a 40,000 square foot building for her construction company buddies, who were, they claimed, going to put in a Boys and Girls Club, which would be fine, but not there. This is a residential neighborhood. There were 5 dead-end streets. The traffic limit was like 10 miles per hour. This was like not the place to do it. And I decided I was going to make sure they knew it. The way I heard about it is an alderman actually called me And he was like, Carla, they're going to do this thing. And it's a done deal. It's a done deal, Carla. And I was like, Joe, that's like a red flag to me. It's not a done deal, and we're going to see. Now, many of you know I serve on Right to Know New Hampshire, and Right to Know is a little tool that we should be really utilizing a lot better. I think one of the ways Free Staters can differentiate themselves is if we start to show people different systems that work better, that are sort of just to the side of whatever they're doing. And I have a concrete example. So if Free Staters, say, all started wearing body cams at the State House, and we just live stream it to a cloud, probably no one's going to watch it, but who knows, right? What if Free Staters had an app on their phones that people used voluntarily? It wouldn't just have to be Free Staters. It would be any state representative or senator who wanted to pledge that they would record every one of their votes, and it would just go online. We would just have a place where Free Staters record their votes. It's just automatic, and it's just part of our culture. What if, you like that? What if every time anyone in the state files a Right to Know request, we put it in an open searchable repository so people don't have to keep filing the same stuff over and over. If you get it once and it's public information, then you put it in a database. Now, here's the thing. People are like, but I don't want my private information out there. I'm like, but then they shouldn't be collecting it. And that's the press point, right? That's where we start to say, oh, if you don't think this information should be public, then we don't think you should be collecting it. Because we just in New Hampshire passed a constitutional amendment to say that we have the right to privacy and that the government needs to step down. So I filed a lot of Right to Know requests. If you ever want to file a Right to Know request in New Hampshire, go to Right to Know New Hampshire. You'll see there under the How To tab. It gives you a lot of information of how you can do it. And, you know, there's some particulars, but for the most part, they're pretty responsive. And they certainly were responsive to me. I have to say, I kind of felt like, I have arrived. Clearly, I sent in the thing, and they were all like, ah! And they all responded quite quickly, which was useful because it also gave us a lot of information about what the concerns were, what they were working towards, how they had decided. I mean, the way they actually decided in the backroom deal to declare the park surplus was just with boilerplate language. They didn't talk to anyone. Now, they really did a bad job, and we were able to show that. So I wrote this long op-ed, and I'm not going to read all of it or go over all of it, but here is something I think from a messaging perspective we maybe want to think about. I know Dennis loves the word authoritarian, so I'm like trying to pull it into my vernacular. But I explained it this way with the park situation. It was really three groups. There was Group A, who are the authoritarians, but they're also the do-gooders, right? These are the ladies from the Boys and Girls Club. Everyone's just trying to do nice and do good things, but they're not really thinking it through. That's Group A. Authoritarians. Group B are the beneficiaries. So yes, they claim there are these pockets of poverty in the West Side. That's true. It's usually around buildings that already have services, not in a nice little residential area. So the beneficiaries, of course, they like the programs because they're benefiting from it. But then there's this little pesky group, Group C, who I like to call the consent seekers. And so what happened in this situation is Group A was like, we're going to get these funds. It's going to be great. We're going to put in this club. Group B was like, awesome, free shit. And Group C was like, you didn't knock on one of our doors. You didn't talk to one abutter. You didn't talk to one person in the neighborhood. You put one online survey up and claimed that that was sufficient. Now, let me tell you, when they started the community garden, we knocked the entire neighborhood. When We Heart West started, they knocked the neighborhood. the fact that these people didn't even occur to them that they were going to ask for a sacrifice from one group of people to make group A and group B happy, but the literal people who are being put out aren't even being consulted, is the problem with politics. So I had that very, very candid conversation with them, and I did not pull my punches. And I think it worked. And why were we? Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but so this is just another article. It's not my favorite quote, but I did say to them, you can't build a community center where you literally ignored the people who live there. And I told them, if you build this center, you cannot put the words community center. You can call it the Mark Stebbins Center, but the letters COMMUNITY should not be on that building. All right, doesn't get a lot better than that. Front page above the fold. Family apologizes to West Side neighbors. They were shocked, I think, that someone fought back, but also spoke their language. We didn't protest. We didn't do house vigils. But we were very clearly, like, I went to coffee with them. I sat down. We had the fight in the paper. And I will tell you, this made me feel good because it actually felt like they heard us and that these were people who genuinely were, like, taken aback because they were like, oh, yeah, it actually genuinely did not occur to us to talk to you. So I think that may actually have a net positive over time. All right. This is a random mushroom. I told you there would be a lot of those. So, by the way, this is my not even humble brag. This is my straight up brag. I won the first annual poker tournament in the Free State. I smoked 34 boys who are all crypto mofos who can do math, and I bluffed every single one of them out of the room. So, no one got this joke, but the joke is, poker, stab her. More mushrooms. This is the Unity breakfast at the, sorry, it's out of focus. That's those old lady selfies where I'm like, I can't see if it's in focus. I'm going to post it. So this was at the Unity breakfast. Sometimes, and really I'm just giving you guys clues now for those of you who follow me. Maybe you'll start to read more things into my little My Life post-its because sometimes they have a point. If you can't see this one, but if you remember Biden's crazy red speech, it's a scene out of Seinfeld where Seinfeld's asking Kramer. It's that scene where he has I think it's the roast chicken or something, right? And he's like, Kramer, what's going on in there? And then it's Biden. And it says, deep state meltdown, Jerry. So deep state meltdown, guys. All right, you won't believe it, but this is my favorite photo from 2022. Why? That is my first backyard chicken egg. So I don't have backyard chickens because I'm not sure if you're allowed to have them in Manchester, but my imaginary backyard chickens would have laid this egg. I have said this joke before, but I'm going to say it again. And I moved to New Hampshire in 2008 because I saw the landscape for what it was back then. I bought my first Bitcoin for $6, but the smartest thing I've done is get backyard chickens. So for those of you who follow along, Louie and I have been incorporating fasts into our life. And so this was us breaking a 5-day fast with some takeout sushi. We were clearly very excited, as you can see from my face in the mirror back there. This was the Post-it that went with it. It says, donut, donut, don't. All right, so here's some media coverage we got. I don't know if you guys noticed, but it got hot and frothy this election cycle. So we have, I think it's Jeremy has just provoked so many people in the state with the Twitter account that they have unleashed some unholy hell on us. So basically, the fall was me meeting with the Boston Globe, the NBC guys who crewed around with us, the New Yorker. I'll get to that one in a second. And so these were, semi-hit pieces, but all things told, I think the more the word gets out, the better for us. So. I like this quote. I'm a problem solver. I'm a solutionist. I'm an innovator. I'm a visionary. And I want to take a swing at making one place better. And this is the place I picked. And I'm so glad you guys picked it with me. All right. So these are really battling tensions. The desire to be good balanced with the desire to be great. Because I might posit that it is very hard to be great if you're good. So, this came in the mail. Ain't nothing like a C word, get the F word out of my state. That's not, my favorite thing. The funny part was NBC Boston was actually there. And they were as shocked as I was. This was September 11th. We're out at the State House talking about why war is bad. Same day, there was a block party on the west side. We went out for the Rimmon Heights block party, and people like to say nasty things to us, but honestly, out of this entire street on the west side of Manchester, I think half the vendors were Free Staters. Whether people know they're Free Staters or not, the reality is we're here and we're contributing to our communities. Another day, later, this was later in September. This was the We Heart West second annual Labor Day, West Manchester Day. Sorry, I meant to look that up. This was amazing. We had families and kids and fun, and it was just it was a great afternoon. And if you're watching this and you're curious about the Free State Project, great event to come to. All right, more nastiness. So this guy is an actual sitting representative in the state of New Hampshire, and he had this to say to me. Go back to colonizing South Africa instead of us here in New Hampshire, a colonizer. Kind of tempted to make a colonizer t-shirt for PorkFest. I don't know, it might not go over well. In fact, I'm fairly confident it won't, but I am tempted. I think this is a massive opportunity for us, just, between all of us. The problem the Democrats have is they like minorities and they like immigrants, except if they're Free Staters. So we can really turn that on its head, right? Because in many ways, I regard what we're doing as we're refugees. Like we are literal political refugees coming to one place to try and preserve and protect the values we believe in. So good deeds often go punished. This was a fun one. So this is out in Concord at the archive, their archive center. And this was a lady, a literal Karen. Her name is really Karen. And Karen got super mad because we put in the CACR 32 from earlier in the talk. So that was the bill to say we're going to do a constitutional amendment and we'll let Granite Staters vote on whether they want to remain in the union or whether they would like to peacefully go their own way. The best way to think about it is it's irreconcilable differences and we want a divorce. And frankly, the partner we have is abusive, so we should just be able to walk away. So this lady was so mad about that bill that she actually filed a complaint with the election board or the election commission, election law committee, to have the candidates or state reps who filed for the bill, who voted for it, she wanted them to not be eligible to run for office anymore. And I was just like, man, that sounds like a nothing burger, but that does not sound democratic to me. The committee agreed with us, and they were like, no, I think they're allowed to run for office. The AG's office is on record saying that words are not insurrection, and an insurrection must be violent, and that's really important. So we have that on file. All right, Free Staters are New Hampshire Allies. This was in September. They like to publish my letters. The reason I'm showing this to you is I know about half of you in this room like to write a comment that's like this long on someone else being wrong on the internet. Could we please just copy and paste and send that to an editor? Everyone in this room could be publishing 3 letters to the editor a year. We'd have what, like 400 messages out there sending and explaining to people the things we believe in. All right, here is another nasty one from the Dems. This is your daily reminder that Free State candidates don't admit to it, but voters can tell. This is a lady who says the following: their campaign literature is filled with liberty, freedom, parental choice. They moved here to New Hampshire. And I'm like, so if you're not for those things, what are you? You're pro-slavery? All right, so I know I'm running out of time, but everyone just hang out for this because this is a good story. Who knows about my little snit with Scott Adams? All right, Scott Adams from Dilbert fame. He was pro-lockdown, pro-mandatory jabs, pro-COVID idiot. I mean, he went whole hog. And then actually he got harmed by the vaccine. I won't call him Claude Adams, but if I was less gracious, I might. So he posted something early one morning, and I responded, and I actually said, dude, if you were independently following the data, it was 100% clear. But I'm really glad you're coming around. Now help us get to Nuremberg 2, which is a trial we need to have because there was not informed consent for anything that happened. And I said, get us to Nuremberg 2, heads must roll. I'm speaking mostly metaphorically, mostly. Scott did not like that. I called him a dude and a big bulb. And to be fair, the big bulb, I was trying to do like the light bulb above your head thing. And I think I like mixed up languages. So I don't know. He's also got a big head and he's bald. So maybe he took it more personally. But that is not what I meant. In return, I'm not going to say it out loud because I know we're live streaming. But he had some choice words for me. I'm not thin-skinned. But like my jaw dropped. For folks back home, we'll go with it, was the B word, the C word, twat, idiot, no one will F you. I forgot asshole, which I think we can say. That was one he also missed. So, yeah, who knows what his dysfunction was, but that's Twitter for you. I am actually actively trying to get him to unblock me. He has said for the record he never unblocks anyone, but I'm going to try because I think someone like him could actually be a valuable ally, someone who's been harmed, who's changed his opinion because he actually finally went and did the research. But somewhere in our bitch fight, I didn't put all of it up. If you want to read the whole thing, go to carlagericke.com. One of the questions I actually asked is, or I tried to give him a bit of leeway because I was like, we don't really realize how bad the censorship actually impacted other people, right? The more we're siloing and the more we're doing these things. So like he may never have been aware. Now he should have asked these questions and been skeptical and applied some critical thinking skills. But a lot of us were censored to such a degree that maybe they just literally, the other side just wasn't seeing the conversations. Now, the censorship is real. I mean, this is just a really soft example, but this was maybe from like 2-3 years ago. Whenever Biden was elected. And so I was just being bitchy on Twitter. But it got or Facebook, I think this one was, right? But it got 9.2 thousand responses. Okay, that's how I used to play. Now, if I get 4 people to like something, I'm having a good day. Then Elon bought Twitter. And I don't know what happened, but it was a glorious week. And then I said Fauci should hang, and then I got suspended, and now my engagement's down and all of that, right? But for one glorious week, I was real popular, and damn it, I liked it. My engagement went up, 250% across the board. I don't have a lot of followers because I made the mistake of really building out the Free State Project over the years. But in 3 years on Twitter, I've had the same 10 followers, up, down, for 3 years. I get no new, and I'm just out there tweeting. It's me and, my NSA handler. And then Elon came in, and then I got 1,000 new followers in 7 days, and then it all went away again. So, mind control your mind. All right, so this is just to give you a sense or to lean into that notion about the censorship. So on Google Trends, I thought this was really interesting. So that little red line there was actually myocarditis. And then do you guys see how it spikes compared to everything else? I mean, it's massive, the yellow line. And then they just start changing the information metrics. So this stuff is happening everywhere. All right, the New Yorker, and then I think we're close to done. So the New Yorker, what a weird experience. That guy was having none of me. I made him come to the house. I mean, the nicest thing he said about me was, I'm anti-vax, pro-secession, and in favor of New Hampshire's refusal to comply with federal gun laws. She is personally pro-life, but because she is libertarian, she said, if you want to murder your offspring, go ahead. Yeah, so I actually managed to have a quote in the New Yorker that makes everyone mad. There is not one word of that gets anyone on board for anything. When the fact checker from the New Yorker called me, who's not the person who writes the article, she literally, she was like, oh, let me find your piece. And we've been chit-chatting a little bit. She goes, oof. And I was like, what? What does it say? And so she read me that, and I was like, I mean, technically. She goes, well, and I could tell she was trying to help me. She's like, she goes, oh, there's a part about your dog. She's like, and then she goes, ooh, sleeping German Shepherd. And I was like, yeah, but she's a collie and a husky mix too. She's like, well, does the dog have a cute name? And I could tell she was like trying to find something to humanize. And I was like, in my head, I'm just going, don't say Hitler. Don't say Hitler. My dog's name is Obi, as in Obi-Wan Kenobi. All right, so media, bread, and circuses. This is Bardo Farm's Bardo Zombie Apocalypse. Always a great time. That was this year's costume. I'm just getting ready. This was a fantastic thing that We Heart West did on the West Side again. This was a Halloween sort of trunk or treat. Lots of families. It's amazing to see who will come out when you're giving away free candy. It was nice. We met a whole bunch of people. Then we went and homesteaded Parkside Park. Actually, while I think of it, Louis had a really good suggestion, and maybe we could make the proposal to Parkside, because it's literally just called Parkside. It's the park next to the school that's called Parkside School. One of my, it's a never-ending bureaucratic loop. But I started to write a motion to the mayor to be like, well, if you guys rip out Parkside, then we have to rename Parkside School because it's no longer Parkside, so it's going to have to be not Parkside School. She didn't like that. So we went and homesteaded it there, and this is probably an event, and we'll probably start to do more things there. Of course, ran for office. That is a popcorn mushroom, another mushroom I did not know either. That is a mushroom. Election rejection. That's all you need to know. I missed by about 200 votes, so we need 200 more Free Staters in Ward 11 in Manchester. All right, on top of all of that fabulous stuff, I also run the monthly Merrimack Valley Porcupines meetups that is being taken over by someone else now. I attend all the new movers parties. I also bring homemade cooked food. So if you're bringing pizzas, maybe let's step up our game a little. And I serve on 3 Liberty nonprofits. This is nonsensical, as many of my ones are. They're good puns, and then there are things like the Hardley Boys. This is me and Brian Kaplan, the economist. He came up to do something at Dartmouth. And this meme was my favorite meme from last year. It is literally 2 little boys fighting. And then it says, never fight until you have to. But when it's time to fight, fight like you're the 3rd monkey on the ramp to Noah's Ark. And brother, it's starting to rain. Mark Stebbins' family let us know early in January that they are moving their project. They will no longer be looking at the park at all. They are welcoming other sites. I think as a gesture to them, we could propose that they rename Parkside Park the Mark Stebbins Park. I think that is the way we should be treating our friends, colleagues, and neighbors, with words, with gestures, and with humanity. This was something nice someone said to me somewhere. It made me feel good. I like the George Carlin stuff. Reminder, I have a lot of media. I am creating hilarious things like this talk all the time. Please follow me if you want to know what's happening with the Free State. I'm on Odyssey as well. I have my website, carlagericke.com. I have a book out, The Ecstatic Pessimist. You can buy it here at Liberty Forum 2023. Your life can be like my life. You just have to show up. So I hope I have inspired you. I hope you will follow along. I'm so grateful that everyone is here at Liberty Forum. We have such an opportunity. We're doing something so important, so historic, so interesting. And it's with great gratitude that I can say I'm so happy to be with you, me and my 20,000 homies. Thank you.